I wanted to talk about how we can use some of these, I guess the test too, and like develop, emotional intelligence. Like what are some ways we can do it every day in our lives? All right. So, Patrick, before, we were talking about you really did a good job of like defining emotional intelligence and how it works in our lives and the impact that it has. And that you were giving a great example of a CEO and somebody that you had go through the testing with you on it. And one of the things that I've found over the years is that emotional intelligence is a very personal journey, but there are some, I guess, consistent principles or maybe tenets to understanding it and better implementing it into our lives that are more universal, right? So I was wondering if maybe you can share how you see some of those more universal principles and of really how to apply emotional intelligence better in our lives, and if there's anything maybe everyday life we can do to help develop what is a very important skill set for everyone.
Sure. And you just said the term that's absolutely beautiful. And you said on our journey. This train does not have a specific destination. So you pull into this place, right, and everybody disboards or gets off, and then it moves on somewhere else. I think being an emotionally intelligent human being, person, you've got to work at it every day. It's not something that you arrive to. And, so to step back a little bit with the question of, well, how do you increase emotional intelligence? What is that really about? It starts with the ability to really slow down and to be very honest about who you are in the world. And an example of that is this CEO that I was talking about, where it's a big company. He came into the company about a year and a half ago, and he works 80, 90 hours a week. So he's never home. He has, children that are 10, 11, 12, and one teenager. And this guy is just not around. However, you see the pictures of his kids all over his office, and, he talks about them all the time. And I asked him a question. I said, if your children were sitting here with us right now, and I asked them, how much time do you have with your father? What would they say? And he looked at me, and he got really quiet.
It's probably like a gut punch.
He said, yeah, you bet. And he said, what's horrifying right now? What's horrifying right now is that I've become my father. And my father was a good man. I never saw him. He worked. He was an immigrant. He worked just unceasingly. And I said to myself, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to be there for the kids. And he says, the gut punch, as you just said, is I, at this moment, realized just how full of crap I am. And I said, yeah, you're not full of crap. Not by a long shot. First of all, I'm here in front of you. And somebody who is really full of crap probably isn't going to have somebody like me talking to them. And the part is, and it goes back to what you said, Dave, which really hit the bullseye. Before we try to be better or different or change, and I fundamentally believe that we can change if we want. Goes back to the motivation that you talked about. But before we can do anything, we really have to be honest with ourselves about who we are. What in the arc of our development, I suppose, what traumas have occurred and how do we understand those traumas? And if traumas occurred in your life, mine, everybody else's, if they're unhealed, they will exist today in our world as we live it today. It may look different. It may even feel different. But it's that same piece that tends to resurrect itself at different times in our life.
Well, and it's a subconscious
being
thing
able
too.
100%. And that piece about, know thyself, spend time understanding who we are in the world, it all has to start there. It just does. And that moment where my wife said, you owe me $150, the way she did it, I thought was really just remarkably funny. And it was remarkably true. And it's being able to embrace that.
Yeah. So this is really, really important. And we're kind of dancing around it. We've kind of said it before, but I just want to crystallize it because anybody listening, this is the crux of all of this. Most people are too afraid to figure out who they are because they don't want to deal with those things from the past, the skeletons in the closet, that type of stuff, and confront, their demons, if you will, and if, for lack of a better term. That's where the magic happens, though, when you're willing to do that and you're willing to actually ask yourself to the nth degree, who am I? What do I truly want? Because most people never get what they want because they don't know what they want because they don't know who they are. And so that's the biggest thing that everybody people shy away from, and they look for every excuse not to deal with because it is hard. And the subconscious will stop you from doing it. And I think this is a key thing is like the things that happen that are, you mentioned like traumas and things like that imprint effectively on the subconscious mind. Anytime a situation comes up where you have that opportunity to deal with it or to really work through it, it will actually sabotage you away from it if you let it. Like I've seen some extraordinary things in this area with people where it's just like on the other side, it like boggles the mind because it's like, you know exactly what you need to do to solve your issue. But every chance you get, right, or even if you start to, you stop or some excuse, something comes along that derails you from doing it. And it's the subconscious mind that is doing that to them. And if in those moments they're not willing to power through, they'll never get over it. And it will always be there and always, basically be an albatross around their neck.
Oh, completely.